What's up, guys? Welcome to the first edition of the Manky Boot, coming to you with AK and Romey. We're just two football fans that just want to chop it up with you guys. I'm a Liverpool fan. AK is a die-hard Manchester United fan. Um, we've been chopping up in our group chat for about 4 years now, constantly humiliating each other. And one day we just had the bright idea just to say, what the fuck? Let's just have a podcast. Isn't that right, AK?
Yeah, it's just a bit of banter, really. Just two idiots chatting shit for however long it lasts, really. Just talking about the Premier League games and what's been happening. And we'll start off with probably transfers and the opening weekend's games.
Right. So some fun games, especially for the Big Six this weekend. So we'll probably kick things off with Liverpool and Norwich. Newly promoted Norwich. What do you think, AK?
Norwich surprised me, to be honest. They knocked the ball around a bit and they took the game to Liverpool. They weren't scared. And, we'll come to predictions later on, but they did pretty well. I know they got slapped up. What was the final score? Was it 4-0? 4-1?
4-1. They got a little consolation goal at the end there.
Consolation goal. But no, there were definitely positive signs for Norwich. And on Liverpool's end, it was just business as usual, wasn't it? Who were the goal scorers with it? Salah scored one. Can't know who the others were. Can't remember.
Origi, they had an own goal there as well. But I think things started to really open up when those guys they had that little own goal, and then the Norwich team just started to unravel.
Yeah, because it was like 4-0 up in like half an hour, wasn't it? Something like something crazy. And at one point you thought, well, Norwich could be in for a hiding here, 6-7-0 potentially, but they held in there. I think Liverpool probably felt sorry for them a little bit and held back a little bit once they got 4-0 up. They didn't, press as hard. They didn't try as hard. But it was a convincing win for Liverpool and unlucky for Norwich, although there were definitely some positive signs for them.
Yeah, true. But my God, 6-7-0 up. But you have no fucking respect for these guys, do you? Holy shit.
The way it was going, 4-0 after half an hour, you never know. You were thinking there could be lights out for Norwich. What an introduction to the Premier League again. But they held in there and got a consolation by Pukki, wasn't it? The goal scorer for them.
Yeah.
So, decent. Very decent.
But I guess we can start things off by kicking things off about Liverpool, huh?
Yeah. I know on Twitter and social media and everything, everyone was, including you actually, you were bemoaning the lack of signings, saying that you need to strengthen. But I kept saying, there is an importance of continuity within the squad. And I know you haven't strengthened, but it was good to build up that understanding between the players. And hopefully, I think the most important thing for Liverpool this summer was that they haven't lost any of their big players. I think the last couple of times that they came second in the league, I think it was the 08-09 season. After that, they lost Xabi Alonso, who's a quality and a key player in your team. Then the second time you lost Suarez after the, 12-13 season? 13-14 season? You lost Suarez. But this time you kept a hold of Virgil, kept hold of Salah, Mane, all them lot. And I think it's, you're in a good position to kick on and challenge City for the league again.
Well, I mean, I'll just be frank with you. I predicted Liverpool to win in my table. I get your point. Yeah, whole thing. The whole league this year. I get it. I get your point about continuity and whatnot. But I think just to go ahead and close the deal, you could have improved even up top. Because when you look at Firmino, Salah, Mane, and then you look to your bench, you got Origi. That's a big drop off in case somebody wants to rest. And I think that's most Liverpool fans' concern.
Well, you say that Origi came up trumps for you last season. He scored in the Champions League semi-final, the Champions League final. He scored again on Friday. He has stepped up when he's been called upon.
Well, these are a couple moments. I'd like to see more consistency from Origi before I could feel more comfortable. If you look at City, for instance, if something happened to Aguero, they could just dip right into Gabriel Jesus. It would be nice to have a luxury like that. But at the same time, I think we're looking forward to see what Ryan Brewster can contribute to the team as well, and we're just going to kick on and go for it all this year.
You think you'll do it?
Gun to my head, yes.
Is that your heart talking or your head talking?
Both. Gun to my fucking head, we're going to do it.
I don't know, man. I mean, I fucking hope you don't. But how
I bet.
I fucking hope you don't, honestly. But how are you going to improve? Tactically, and, you finished on what, 97 points last season? Yeah, only lost one game in the whole league.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I think it was the draws that cost you, obviously, but I don't know, man. I don't think you'll do it. I don't think Liverpool will do it.
I'll touch on my City concerns when we get to City. But I think the second game was who? Who kicked off?
It was
City, actually. Wow, we rolled right into that one. How about that?
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
City,
perfect.
5-0, absolutely slapped up West Ham at the London Stadium. A few of my mates won't be happy with that. They're West Ham fans. But City, no signs of rustiness.
Not at all.
Honestly, I honestly don't know where their priorities lie this season. Pep's won the league the last 2 years. The first year was pretty convincingly. Last year, 98 points, phenomenal season. But he hasn't done it in the Champions League. And do you think that he might prioritise the Champions League this season? Or, he keeps on saying the Premier League's the bread and butter. You've got to focus on that. I prefer winning the PL to the CL. But I don't know. In the back of his mind, the fans want the Champions League. What do you think he'll prioritise?
I think Pep is a man that prioritises the game that's directly in front of him, to tell you the truth. He's right. The Premier League is the bread and butter. These guys training day in and day out for Saturdays and Sundays, right?
Yeah.
You play 38 games a season, but I think to win the Champions League, you need to have a little bit of luck to go in your favor. Whereas the Premier League, you have to play consistent and get results in order to win it. So,
at what stage does luck not become a factor? They haven't progressed past the quarterfinals in the last 3 seasons. In Pep's first year, they got knocked out by Monaco. Last 2 seasons ago by Liverpool, Spurs last season. At what point because Louis van Gaal said, Louis van Gaal's a former Man United, Ajax, Barcelona manager, but Louis van Gaal said that the reason why Pep hasn't succeeded with City is because he concentrates too much on his own team and tries to maximise their strengths and doesn't take into consideration the strengths of his opponents. And that's why Pep hasn't progressed in the Champions League in the last 3 years. What do you think of that?
I think that's some unfair criticism, to be real. I mean, if you maximise your strengths, at the end of the day, all you're doing is controlling what you can control. You can't control how strong your opponents are. So if you do the best you can in your 4 walls, any given Saturday or Sunday could be yours. You know what I mean?
Surely you can control how strong your opponents are by nullifying their threats.
Well, fair during the game, of course, but when you said Louis van Gaal said the other Pep doesn't focus on the strength of the others. Give me an example of this. What did he not focus on in the Spurs game? City played a typical open game. What did it finish? 4-3 or something in the end on aggregate?
No, I think it was 4-4, and Spurs went through on away goals.
Away goals, right?
I think so, yeah.
So, what more could he have done in that game? Clearly the Llorente handball is a reason why they changed the handball rule this year, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think this year, if something like that was supposed to happen, the City wouldn't get penalised for something like that. The handball and the offside rule is always a constant topic of discussion in close games. So some of that criticism towards Pep is unfair. It's not like this man has never won a Champions League before. He has, 2 to his name?
He won in 2009 and 2011.
Exactly. Stop it. He's been there, done that. Fuck.
In 8 years.
It'll happen.
He was brought in at Bayern Munich to win the Champions League. He didn't do that.
Okay.
Now at City, he's not been able to do that. At what point is it Messi FC that carried him. I mean, I'm not saying it is, because Pep Guardiola's, probably one of the best managers football's ever seen, alongside Sir Alex Ferguson and Johan Cruyff. But, there are question marks with him. 8 years without a Champions League.
You know what? I'm glad you brought his name up, Sir Alex Ferguson. Perfect. How many years he spent at United?
Dude, are we talking? No, let's not talk about United.
No. Tell me how many years he spent there. Tell me.
Dude, the plan was to talk about City and West Ham, all right? We'll come to United later. United have been shit for 6 years. Let's go. Fine, right?
He spent 20 years at United and won 3 Champions League titles. So stop it. 2 in 8 years is good enough. Let's move on.
Oh, fuck's sake. Right. So City, they played West Ham. West Ham lost 5-0. Yeah, bit of a hiding. But I'm not worried for West Ham. I think they'll obviously, they're not going to get caught in the relegation battle. Obviously, they're too good.
No.
But yeah, they've spent a bit of money, haven't they? They bought Haller, a French striker, for 40 million from Eintracht Frankfurt. 20 goals in all competitions last season, and he did hold up the ball quite well on a few occasions against City. Coupled with the likes of Lanzini, Felipe Anderson, Pablo Fornals, I think they bought as well this summer. They've got the makings of a very good team, and I think they'll be battling it out with the likes of Leicester, Wolves, Everton, etc. for probably the best of the rest tag for 7th place. Yeah, so
I can see that.
They've had a decent summer, and I think people need to realise that arguably the best bit of business that they did this summer was getting rid of Marko Arnautovic. He was causing a lot of issues in that squad, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think for the people that are sleeping on West Ham, I mean, you're making a sad mistake. These guys can be a pain in the ass for any team on any day. So, no, I mean, they just came up against a superior opponent. I expect them to lose that game, but 5-0 was an ass ripping for sure. But hey, it's Manchester City. But speaking of them, so they brought in Cancelo and Rodri this year in an effort to replace Fernandinho, right?
Well, yeah, Rodri's sort of looking forward to the future to replace Fernandinho, because I think Fernandinho is 33, 34 years old now. So
yeah, he's up there.
He was very, very important in the last 2 league winning campaign.
Yeah.
And Rodri seems to have slotted in very well. He looks comfortable on the ball, comfortable on the half turn, and he was able to beat West Ham's press on Friday. So I think he'll be a very good addition.
You know where I think they fucked up at though, AK?
Sorry?
You know where I think City fucked up at?
What?
They didn't replace Vincent Kompany.
I understand in terms of his... Well, that's the thing. Like, he barely played last season. He was injured a fair bit. But there's one thing you can't replace is his experience, his leadership skills, and his whole character in the dressing room. That's definitely a big loss. On the pitch, I don't know. I think they're in a good place to be able to deal with the loss of Vincent Kompany. The likes of John Stones, Otamendi.
Hold up, John Stones, bro? Really? Fucking John Stones?
Bro, they're quality fucking players, quality centre-backs. Don't know why you're sleeping on them.
Go on.
No, they're good centre-backs. Are they better than a prime Vincent Kompany? Of course not. But he was past it, and he decided to move on. Did he retire, or did he just move to Anderlecht?
He's a player manager now for Anderlecht, I believe.
Dude.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a loss in the dressing room, but Man City have plenty of experience, plenty of leadership, plenty of characters in that dressing room, the likes of Aguero, David Silva, etc. Raheem Sterling has moved on leaps and bounds in the last few years, both as a footballer and as a man, really. The character and toughness he's shown in the face of adversity is remarkable, to be honest. So I think that they won't miss Company too much. I don't think Pep will let them slack either. His standards are so high that Guardiola just won't let them be affected by the loss of Company.
I tell you what, Aguero, Sterling, or whoever his name don't play defense. So when they come up against the top 16, we'll see what missing Company is going to do.
We will, I suppose. But who do you think they should have gone for then in the transfer window to replace him?
I didn't hear you there, AK. My bad.
Who do you think they should have gone for to replace him then in the transfer window?
I lost you for a second, bud.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, I can hear that. This damn international connection. Holy shit!
Fucking hell, I was retarded. I said, who do you think they should have got to replace Vincent Kompany?
That's a tough question. I mean, I think they tried to get Maguire, but they were just they didn't want to pay that price tag.
£80 million.
That's some big boy dollars. They didn't think he was quite worth that. I think if they could have gotten somebody
lots of Stones and Otamendi and Laporte, you're going to have to pay big bucks. You know, you're not going to find a centre back worth 30, 40 million that's better than them.
I think what they probably wanted was somebody like a Maguire or Koulibaly, but financially it just didn't make sense this summer. So, we'll see. Maybe they'll address in the winter. Maybe they'll address next summer. But I just think this Company, this lack of a Company replacement is going to come bite them in the ass come time for a big 16.
Well, it's strange you saying that they didn't want to pay that much money. You know, City have been notorious over the years for essentially buying their success over the last, what was it, 9 years, really?
Yeah.
I think Shakes took over in 2008, but they won their first league 7 years ago, and they haven't looked back since. And they've not been shy of spending money. So, I mean, they spent the third most amount net spend this summer with about £77 million.
Yeah, again, I think for them, they just didn't see anybody really worth the money. They're not shy about spending, but if you're worth it, they'll do it. And to them, I imagine Maguire wasn't really worth 80 million. They didn't think spending 80 million on Maguire would make them that much better to take them over the top.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I said they spent the third most this summer in terms of net spend, but can you guess who has spent the most in terms of net spend? Surprising. Aston Villa, 140 fucking mil. Where did that come?
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Jesus Christ.
Did you invest in Aston Villa or something?
Sorry?
Did you invest in Aston Villa or something?
Nah, bro. I wish I had that money. But Aston Villa, man, spent big. Do you think they bought well?
You know what? I'll say this first. I'm glad to see them back in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I really am.
I remember growing up, and it was sort of there was the traditional big four at the time. Obviously, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool were the big four. Now, obviously, Tottenham and City have come to prominence, but Aston Villa and Everton were always the ones battling out for fifth and sixth, and it was nice to see. But
yeah,
they've struggled over the last 10 years. Bouncing back and forth between the Premier League and the Championship, but they're back up now to the Premier League. Did they win the Championship last year? I think they did.
They could have played their way in there, but I'll say this one thing about Aston Villa. I don't like to compare two situations. I met them be the same thing, but I remember last year Fulham came in just freshly promoted and spent quite a bit of money similar to Aston Villa and went straight back down to the Championship. So let's let's give them some time. Let's not watch the dollars that they actually spend and see if they can get some results. Typically, I thought it was an unfortunate loss to Spurs. I thought they played really well. They stole our goal in the beginning, but when it was time, Kane came through and finished the game.
Yeah, they defended valiantly, but ultimately they just weren't good enough. And they nicked a goal. McGinn in the 9th minute, I think it was, scored a pretty decent goal. I think he sent Danny Rose to the fucking shops. Honestly, sat him down. But then in the second half, Pochettino made some tactical tweaks, put Sissoko a bit further out wide, and they were able to stretch the game and cause Villa some problems. Villa weren't able to deal with that defensively.
The Spurs surprised you as well by spending big as well. I mean, I know they haven't spent in the last couple of years, but you get the vibe that they're kind of going for it, aren't they?
Well, they had this self-imposed transfer ban for the last 2 years, didn't they? They didn't buy a single player for 2 windows, so it was nice for them to spend a bit of money. It wasn't too bad, but I don't think they spent as much as people think. They spent 100 million on I think it was Ndombele from Lyon, Sessegnon from Fulham, and this young winger called Jack Clark, I think, who they loaned back out. Yeah. So they've only brought in 3 players. Obviously, on the last day they got Lo Celso from Real Betis as well, I think.
He's on loan though. So we won't count him, yeah.
Yeah, they got 4 players, but they loaned out Jack Clark. So they've only got 3 new additions to the squad. And I've got to say, those additions seem... Well, Ndombele scored on his debut, so that looks like a good one. Sessegnon, a good young teenage left-sided player. He can play on the wing, can play left-back as well.
Seems like versatile.
Very versatile and one for the future.
Yeah.
And Lo Celso, who I've got to admit, haven't got a fucking clue who he is. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't got a fucking clue. Everyone's seemingly hyping him up, but I've never seen the cunt play. So whatever. 55 million, I think, is if they want to buy him at the end of his loan spell, they need to pay 55 million. That's surprising. A lot of money for a player who's relatively unknown.
I remember seeing him come off the bench in spurts for Paris Saint-Germain a couple of years ago before he's moved to Sociedad. And for the few minutes I saw him play, I thought he jumped off my screen. I'm not going to say he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I think he can contribute to their team and certainly add some depth to them with Dele Alli being hurt and whatnot, especially if you remember last year, Kane was out for a significant amount of time and we wondered where goals were going to come from. So,
well, Heung-min Son stepped up, and so
he did.
Lucas Moura. Son's a cracking player. Honestly.
Oh God,
great player. Honestly, quality. But Son stepped up. Lucas Moura stepped up. Llorente got them through that quarter-final game against City that we spoke about. But it's nice to have Kane back. Scored 2 goals at the weekend against Villa, as you said. But there's been talk on social media that they've arguably had the best transfer windows out of all the Premier League teams. What do you think about that?
I think that remains to be seen, because they never really had to revamp their whole squad. They just had to add little bits and pieces for depth.
That's the thing. Pochettino's been there for, 4 years now, 5 years, and he's steadily put his squad up with, the likes of Harry Kane, Dele Alli, he got from MK Dons, I believe. Vertonghen and Alderweireld have been there for a fair few years. Danny Rose has been there for a while, so is Hugo Lloris. So he's only had to add a couple of players every transfer window. And I think they've got a very, very complete squad at the moment. Do you think they can challenge the league?
I'll save that for my Premier League table reveal. They finished top 3 last year, I believe. So
yeah,
they finished 3rd last year. So I'll show you that a little bit where I have them ranked. But no, Sessegnon, you're right. I'll know for sure if they had the best transfer window, maybe around mid-season or so. But I'm interested to see how all these pieces at Arsenal fit together.
Wait, you're saying Arsenal had the best transfer window?
No. I'm interested to see how their pieces come together. Because as we know, they didn't play all their players today. I'm interested to see the United guys that they bought: Daniel James, Mr. Basaka, Maguire. So now I think it's too early for us to tell who had the best transfer window.
Well, that's the thing with Spurs. Like they built their new stadium. They started using it at the back end of last season. Why do you think they're not being hindered financially? Like Arsenal were when Arsenal moved into the Emirates. Do you think Spurs will have to deal with that, selling their best players every year to help finance the stadium?
It depends. They have to win the bigger trophies. If they come and steal a Champions League or steal the Premier League, they might not. But during that time, Arsenal was doing that stadium renovation and whatnot. They weren't winning any of those trophies. Maybe a FA Cup here, a League Cup, then there at the time. That's what it's called. But I think as long as if Spurs can steal a Premier League title or a Champions League, they won't need to sell any of their players.
Fair enough. I mean, we touched upon Arsenal and their move to the Emirates now. A few years ago, they bought Mesut Ozil for big money, 45 million, I believe. They bought Alexis Sanchez as well. So they spent big sporadically, but I think in the last few years now, they've started to up the ante. They bought Aubameyang up front, Lacazette, and this summer, Nicola Pepe. Nicola Pepe for 72 mil. Fuck me. What do you know about Nicola Pepe?
I don't know jack shit about that kid besides what you hear the little pundits talk about. I pulled his stats. I saw 20-something goals, double digit assists in League One. But moving from League One to the Premier League that's a whole different animal. So I think he came on as a sub today. I'd love to sit there and watch this guy play for 90 minutes and to further give you some input on this guy. But he's a relative unknown to me.
Well, Jose Mourinho said earlier on today, he was on Sky Sports, and he said that after he got sacked by United, he went over to France and he watched Lille for a fair bit, and he said he likes the look of Nicola Pepe, but he has question marks on whether, like every transfer when you move to a new country, whether he can adapt to the culture and the climate change and everything in England. But in terms of from purely a footballing perspective, he looks a quality player, full of pace and creativity. And quite frankly, Arsenal have been looking for right-sided attacker for a long, long time now. They thought Theo Walcott could do that, but he flopped hard at Arsenal, always injured. So they're just hoping that Nicola Pepe can be that man, because they've got a quality attack, don't they?
You know what's funny?
What?
I feel like all summer Arsenal fans were just bitching that their ownership wouldn't spend any money on players, and out of left field they just spent like $100 million on players.
Well,
where the fuck did that money come from?
That's the $1 million question. Because at the beginning of the summer, Arsenal put it out there that they'd only have 45 million to spend, and lo and behold, they spent 138 million in the summer, the third most behind United and Aston Villa, and they didn't even receive that much money from player sales. They got about 55 million, so they spent 82.5 mil net, which is the second most in the Premier League. So they've spent big, but whether they've spent correctly remains to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they got William Saliba for central defender from Saint Etienne, who they loaned back. He was 27 million.
Right.
Martinelli, fuck knows who he is. He came out of nowhere. Quite frankly, I don't really give a shit about him because I don't think he's a big player for Arsenal this season. Kieran Tierney, who I think is going to be a very, very good left back for them. Honestly, what was it? 25 million for him?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, they were haggling for months for such a seemingly small fee. They were haggling that Celtic for months, and who else did they get? They got David Luiz at centre back. Do you
Deadline
think?
day, right?
Sorry.
Deadline day, right?
Yeah, on deadline day they completed two deals, Tierney and David Luiz. Do you think those two players, more specifically David Luiz, do you think he can help transform Arsenal's defensive issues?
Transform their defensive issues. Wow. You mean like Virgil van Dijk transfer? Or we're talking about a marginal increase?
Never gonna fucking happen. Never in a million years.
Okay. David Luiz has always been an interesting player to me. You know? He'll have his days where he's a defensive maniac, and his days where he's just, as some describe in the past, like a video game player, all out of position because he likes to drive the ball up the field. He's confident in making these long passes. He's got a nice free kick on him on his day. But I think that was more relationship, familiarity with Emery from his PSG days.
Yeah. Do you think he can offer those leadership qualities that Arsenal are sorely lacking?
I think the leadership is going to come from Emery. I mean, he's shown he's not afraid to bench the highest paid player.
Surely you need players in the dressing room with leadership and experience. You mentioned Vincent Kompany and how that's going to affect Man City. United, what was it, 5 years ago now when they lost Nemanja Vidic, Rio Ferdinand and Patrice Evra all in the same summer. There's a lot of experience that left there.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
I think boycotting your way from your old team to go join a new team on the deadline day is not the greatest sign of a leader. But we'll see as the season progresses.
Well, you never know what happened behind the scenes with
right. You never know.
Frank could have told him, mate, you're not in my plans. You can fuck off. And Luiz was like, fair enough. But he probably, let's be honest, like he probably wanted to stay in the Premier League. Similar to the Petr Cech transfer a couple of years ago. Like Chelsea didn't want him. He still wanted to play at the top. He was still a decent player. He wanted to, stay living in London. His family's probably settled there. And he didn't want to move to a lesser team because he's still a decent player. So he did the same thing that Petr Cech did.
I can see that, AK. I can see that, but again, let's see what David Luiz's impact is going to be at Arsenal. I don't think he has the greatest defensive cast around him, kind of like some of those Chelsea teams he had and some of the players he had at PSG rather. So let's wait and see on David Luiz for sure. I'll give him a good 10 games.
10
games? I'll break him down. 10 games. Let's see what he's got in 10 games.
Fair enough. And their final transfer, Dani Ceballos from Real Madrid on loan. What do you think of that?
He's another relative fucking unknown to me. I'll tell you that.
Really? Bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Bullshit.
No,
I remember you talking about him. It was about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. You were like, and AK, I really want Dani Ceballos at Liverpool, the Real Madrid central midfielder. Oh, he's quality. You knew about him ages ago.
No, I don't think it's fucking Dani Ceballos. It's somebody else. I don't know what fucking football I fell in love with that one at Liverpool that day, but it definitely wasn't him.
Do you think he'll be like Denis Suarez? Because Denis Suarez came from Spain, Spanish midfielder, in January on loan for 6 months, and he played less than 100 minutes, I think, for Arsenal in 6 months. It was ridiculous. Do you think Dani Ceballos will be another one like that?
That was a fucking joke. Again, without much knowledge about Dani Ceballos, I can't even predict what how many minutes or what impact he's gonna have with Arsenal. He's another one of those I have to wait and see on.
Right. Well, I saw him briefly this summer at the Under-21 European Championships, And I think, I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong on this, but I think he was like man of the tournament or something. He was instrumental. He was instrumental in the under-21 championships. A lot of rave reviews about him saying that he can control the game, he can pick out a pass, he's tenacious. And I don't know I know he'll have a good career. I'm pretty sure, he'll end up doing well for himself. But what I found interesting was he asked for, in his loan clause, he asked for there not to be an obligation for Arsenal to buy him. He was like, right, I'll go to Arsenal just for minutes, but I don't want to fucking stay there at the end. I want to go back to Real Madrid and fight for my place there, but I just need minutes at the moment. So I'm questioning whether, that's the right attitude you want a new player to have who doesn't want to be there for the foreseeable future.
Well, if you buy him, that's one thing. But loaning somebody, that's another. Because, it's just like in these big clubs. You loan out some of your youth squad players, and if they have serious potential, the players want to come back to their parent clubs. And I admire Denis Ceballos expressing his ambition and staying true to his guns of wanting to play for Real Madrid,
Right, so hypothetical scenario. He plays for Arsenal this season. He plays well. Arsenal want him, but he doesn't want to stay at Arsenal. That's a kick in the teeth, surely.
Well, he set the expectation up front, so it shouldn't be a kick in the teeth, right?
Well, you never know. Do you think they'll feel the loss of Koscielny, Ramsey, Petr Cech? Because they left Arsenal this summer. Cech retired, Ramsey on a free to Juventus, and Koscielny went on strike. Do you think they'll miss them?
Koscielny, no. Cech, no. Ramsey, possibly. I think Koscielny may have lost a step in his game. Cech is slightly older. We're not talking about 20-year-old Cech. This guy came over with an older guy, as you said, because he didn't want to leave the Premier League. So I don't think there's a significant drop-off between Cech at this stage and Mr. Leno over there. But Ramsey, on his day, he looks like a hell of a midfielder, but with times when he's not engaged, he's just not engaged to me. So Ramsey, they might lose, but I think they got a good crop of players coming in to fill the Ramsey gap.
Well, that's why they bought Ceballos to try and fill that. So Arsenal played, Newcastle? It was earlier on today, actually, at St James's Park. They won 1-0 thanks to a Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang goal. Honestly, man, what do you think of Newcastle? Because they're in an absolute shitstorm, aren't
they? Manager up on leaves in the summer. You got Steve Bruce coming in, and I remember him from his little Sunderland days. But,
the Newcastle don't like him because of that.
Losing my guy Perez, I believe.
Ayoze Perez, I think, went to Leicester. Yeah.
Yeah. Newcastle is in a heap of trouble. They might be in the relegation fight again this year. They might be.
Oh, they definitely will be. They're just not good enough.
Yeah.
Do you think Steve Bruce can stop that, though?
Based on the situation, I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Very decisive there.
I got a question for you, though.
What?
We just watched the fucking game of the weekend. Why are we spending this much time on Arsenal and Newcastle? My God, what an ass ripping for Chelsea.
Dude, I'm actually so fucking happy right now. United 4, Chelsea 0, clean sheet. What more can you expect? It was a perfect start to the Premier League season for Man United. In terms of the result, the performance left a lot to be desired in certain aspects, but as a general rule, United, you can never be disappointed with a 4-0 win against your top 4 rivals. Whether Chelsea are in a good place or in a bad place, they're not in the best condition at the moment as a team and as a club, but you can never turn your nose up at a 4-0 win against your rivals.
I'm shocked. I mean, this is your team. You love them. You know, I think you're probably the biggest United fanboy I've ever met, and I thought you'd be coming down here and busting your load over this victory. It's a humble. You're very humble in victory today, okay?
I'm a humble guy. What can I say?
Yeah, no, right. I mean,
I took the piss out of Sheldon in our group chat earlier on today, and that was enough for me. I definitely saw some weaknesses in United's play.
What'd you say?
Well, sorry?
What did you say? What weaknesses concerned you?
Our midfield, obviously. You know, that's not... that's well documented that United needed a midfielder to replace Fellaini, who left in January, and Herrera, who left in the summer on a free. And I think people, will finally realise that and Herrera was probably our most influential and most important midfielder at Man United. He wasn't the best because obviously Pogba technically is far superior, but I think Herrera will be a very, very big miss for United.
United. I swear, I thought you guys were asleep for 50 minutes, and then I saw y'all's best attack. Yeah. And out of nowhere, I mean, that man Paul Pogba just took the game over, didn't he?
I don't think he took the game over. He definitely wasn't our best player.
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say he was the best, but for 30 minutes, I mean, he broke it open.
I mean, that's what he can do. But we know for years his consistency is an issue. But yeah, no, I think the weakness obviously is our third midfielder next to Scott McTominay and Paul Pogba. Andreas Pereira played there today in a midfield three, and he pressed well. He tried hard, but quite frankly, he's just not up to scratch. He's not of the required quality United need to be able to challenge for the league and get us back to where we need to be. But it's only the first window that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has had, and onwards and upwards, I suppose.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
I mean, I was fucking...
It was questionable. But for his first window, I mean, I was really impressed with Mr. Wan-Bissaka today.
Mate, I've been saying... I think I rang you in... I think it was... We had a conversation in like January or something. Before United were even linked to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I said, this guy is my dream signing for the summer. I don't care how much we need to spend to get him, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka was and is a major fucking upgrade on Ashley Young, because that cunt needed to get out of my starting 11. I don't give a shit, bro. That guy needed to fuck off. And he's not.
Oh my god,
mate! I've told you, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, best defensive fullback in the league, second best fullback in general, behind your boy Trent. And Maguire looked solid as well today. Got the man of the match award. And I predicted a 3-1 win for United beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy with what I saw. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer set up tactically exactly how I expected him to. Our midfield is nowhere near as good as Chelsea's. So he conceded possession, which he tends to do in the bigger games. We saw that against Spurs last season in January when United won. Right. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is building towards a counter-attacking team. And we saw that in full force today. Not everything was... Not all 4 goals was due to exceptional play. Azpilicueta, who's been very consistent for years at Chelsea, one of the best defenders in the league for years as well. He was at fault for a couple of the goals, the second and third goal, I think it was, Martial and Rashford goals. He was at fault. So we capitalised on poor defending, and that's all you can do.
I'll tell you what. I don't think you guys will get as lucky as you were today again for the rest of the season. That was the luckiest and the most cloudy 4-0 win I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. Chelsea were very good in parts.
Yeah.
Gary Neville said it on commentary. The first half was played in 3 15-minute thirds, really. Chelsea dominated the opening 15. United pulled it back in the second 15, and then Chelsea grew into the game again. United were fortunate to go in at the break 1-0 up, but you got to ride your luck sometimes. Liverpool were lucky as fuck last season on many, many occasions.
Get the fuck out of here.
They were, dude. Salah fucking driving all over the place.
Get the fuck out of here.
You can't.
We're talking about this season.
Well, we've only got one game to go off, mate.
What do you think of Chelsea, though? Were you impressed with those guys? Lampard's first game was a manager in the Premier League. What do you think?
Very naive from Chelsea. Very naive, especially when you were 2-0 down after 65 minutes, I think it was. You're not out the game. Still plenty of time to get back into it. And 17 seconds after kickoff, Azpilicueta's, falling asleep again, and United just like that went from 1-0 up to 3-0 up in a matter of a minute, and that's just naive defending from Chelsea. And I don't know whether that's an issue with Lampard and how he set up tactically, or whether that was, as I said, Azpilicueta being at fault and having lapses of concentration. But Chelsea, man, in attack, they had decent, spells of possession. They carved United open a couple of times, hit the woodwork, but there was much to be desired.
I think they need to have some personal issues, Chelsea.
Behind the scenes or on the pitch?
No, on the pitch. Rudiger, great defender.
Always injured.
Always, never available.
Yeah.
I think if you had somebody that caliber instead of Kurt Zuma in there today, some of those counter attacks have been sniffed out. Going forward, they weren't clinical. The loss of Hazard, they still haven't. To me, they haven't replaced Diego Costa from fucking 5 years ago.
Was it 5 years ago?
For shits and giggles, 4 or 5 years ago. Tammy Abraham, he looked threatening at times. Besides that one shot off the woodwork, I didn't think too much of him. But good first start. Christian Pulisic, who everybody in the US is busting their load off.
Well, they bought in January for 57 million, I think. They bought because they knew they'd have a transfer ban, and they bought him. Well, he says he's not there to replace Hazard, but let's be honest, he is. What did you think of Pulisic today?
He had 30 minutes, right?
Yeah, roughly.
I think we could see his pace, his change of direction. He got by Wan-Bissaka once or twice, but
mate, no one gets past Wan-Bissaka.
Oh my god,
Wan-Bissaka is the best right back the world has ever seen. Right?
We'll see. Fucking. Oh my god,
that guy is quality. Honestly, he can have my children. I don't give a fuck.
Oh my god,
that guy's quality. I don't care.
You might as well change your fucking name to AK Wan-Bissaka at this point.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. Why not?
Oh God, but not too bad from the young American. He didn't do anything that surprised me. I didn't expect him to come on and score 5 goals and steal a game away like some of these guys over here in the US. But
well, I remember saying it last season because Hazard carried you for large parts of last season, and I said without him, Chelsea are toothless. And you saw that on full force today. Transfer ban or not, Chelsea's squad just isn't as good as it needs to be to get back on top and challenging for the Premier League. I think that their players are on either side of the spectrum, especially in attack. You've got young, exciting players, the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi. He's injured at the moment. Christian Pulisic, Mason Mount, young 20-year-old-ish players, great potential,
Loftus
very
Cheek.
quality, but inconsistent. And on the whole other end of the spectrum, you've got the likes of Olivier Giroud, Pedro, Willian, all the wrong side of 30, like 32, 33 years old, past it. You've got no one in the middle, no one in their prime. And you're either relying on old heads to turn back the years and perform as we know they used to, or young players to step up. And that's where Chelsea will lack this season. They just don't have anyone who's consistent and reliable, especially in the front line.
Dude, Chelsea need to fucking suck FIFA's cock to get a transfer window today. I'm so serious. Based on what we saw today.
Yeah, well, they've not bought well for a fair few years, I don't think.
So since we just covered the Big Six, I know earlier it kind of hinted at our Premier League tables. You think we should just go ahead and tell the world what our top 20 looks like?
Yeah, let's go for it. What do you want? We'll start with the three sides we think that will get relegated.
Sure. Who you got?
Right. Position number 20, Sheffield United. Quite frankly, I haven't fucking seen them, not gonna lie. I've had a look at their squads and no one really stands out too much. You know, they've got Dean Henderson from Man United, young keeper, but will he save them from relegation? Doubt it. Phil Jagielka went to them from Everton. You know, his experience could be invaluable, but you never know. I don't think he's good enough to stop them from getting relegated. I've also got Brighton and Southampton in the bottom three as well. Quite frankly, I just don't think they're good enough. They don't have enough goals in them. Saying that, Brighton just won 3-0 against Watford this weekend, so just shows how much I know. But over the course of a season, I don't think those three teams are good enough to stay up.
I tell you what, we have two of the three in our bottom three. I have Sheffield, Norwich, and Southampton. Yeah, I'm with that. I definitely think those three are gonna go. But you have Norwich. I have Norwich, and you said you have Brighton. So
yeah, why do you think will go down?
I didn't hear you.
Why do you think Norwich will go down? They showed a lot of promise against Liverpool. They knocked the ball about quite a lot. They gave Liverpool some problems. And quite frankly, on the first day of the season, they've gone to Anfield, which is, I'd say, probably the top three hardest grounds to go to. And they gave it a good go. 4-1 isn't the end of the world. They gave you problems, and I think they'll be fine. They're not going to come up against Liverpool every week, are they?
No, it's not that. I mean, it's just at the end of the day, it's all about results. We've only seen one game of them in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I'm just unsure if they're gonna get the results to stay afloat. You know, first Premier League game, you get hammered at Anfield. Don't know what's quite to come for them for the rest of the season. Newly promoted team, still wet behind the ears. You know, it's not like an experienced team like a Newcastle that came in, or an Everton or a Watford or a Burnley or something like that. But I have them definitely going back down.
So who do you have? Sheffield in 20, Southampton in 19th, and Norwich in 18th?
Norwich in 19th, Southampton in 18th.
Right.
Yeah.
So who do you have from? Let's go 17th to 14th.
Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Crystal Palace. And the thing is, I think 17th through 14th, there's not going to be a big gap in the points from 18th place.
Yeah.
But
the bottom, I think from like 40, notoriously from, it's all tight between, only a handful of points that separates like 13th to 20th or 14th to 20th up until like April, and then teams start to build a bit of momentum.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just going to be a dogfight over there.
Right. So I had Newcastle in 17th, Norwich in 16th, Villa in 15th, and what number did we go up to again?
14th.
Burnley in 14th.
Burnley, okay.
I think Aston Villa will be okay. I saw, obviously, against Spurs, they defended resiliently. Unfortunately, Spurs are just too good. But I saw a couple of their pre-season games, and I think they've got enough about them to stay up. Whether all they spent about 140 million on 12 players, whether that will end up working out for them, you never know. They could be exactly like what Fulham were last year. But in pre-season, the one game I saw was a 3-1 win against RB Leipzig, and they're a pretty decent team in the Bundesliga. Dean Smith is an exciting manager who likes to knock the ball about as well. He's not like the stereotypical relegation candidate team. He just hoof it long and just hope for second balls and scraps and stuff. He tries to play, and whether that will save them remains to be seen. But I've got Aston Villa in 15th and Burnley in 14th, because Burnley are just reliable, aren't they?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. Who do you have from 13th, 12th, 11th and 10th?
Oh, this is where it gets dicey now.
Yeah.
So I have Brighton at 13th.
Brighton?
Yeah, surprise, huh?
What is wrong with you? Why? I know they won 3-0 against Watford, but are you fucking mad?
Well, what a way to kick the season off, right?
Dude, Aston Villa beat Arsenal a handful of years ago in their first Premier League game of the season, and they ended up with like 17 points or something like that year. So,
Change of manager, renewed hope. So, I think we'll stay in that realm. What did they finish last year? Like 15th or something like that?
Is it, what's that? Graham Potter, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Some fucker.
Well, will he be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat and, keep them up? Who knows? Who else did you have in that bottom 10?
So I got Brighton at 13th, Burnley at 12th, Watford at 11th, and Everton at 10th.
Right, I've got 10th and 11th the same. I've got Everton at 10th and Watford at 11th as well. I've also got Bournemouth at 12 because I think they're just a relatively established Premier League team at this point. Eddie Howe's been there a fair few years. They have their own identity, and I mean they beat Chelsea 4-0 last year in like January or whatever, or February. So they're a good team who can cause a big upset. Nathan Ake at centre back is a good young player, not worth 75 million.
Fuck no.
Like Bournemouth wanted 75 million for him for when Leicester came in for him. But yeah, I've got Everton in 10th, Watford 11th, Bournemouth 12th, and Palace in 13th.
So now when I get to this stage, I feel like I'm gonna piss so many people off at this point. But you know what, AK?
Right,
I don't give a fuck.
We'll do 7th, 8th, and 9th, and we'll leave the top six in their own little bracket. So who have you got 7th, 8th, and 9th?
All right, prepare your assholes, fanboys. 7th, I have Wolves.
You're so fuck off. Prepare your assholes, fanboys. Fuck off. Right, who do you have?
7th, I have Wolves. 8th, I have Leicester. And 9th, I have Manchester United.
Right. Everyone who's listening to this will never, ever listen to another podcast now because they're just like, right, this little cunt has no idea what he's on about. Why the fuck should I listen?
You know what? Bring on the fucking hate, you little fanboys. Bring it on.
Right, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Who do you have again? Wolves,
Leicester, and Man United.
In that order?
That order.
Right. Explain that then.
I guess you want me to explain the Man United piece, don't you?
Explain them all. Fuck it.
No, fuck it. I'm just going to tell you the Man United piece.
Right, go on. Try and roll me up then.
So, we can't be prisoner of the moment today because of what we saw. Okay?
Yeah. So United just fought Chelsea 4-0, but they're going to finish 9th. Okay.
Okay. We cannot be prisoner of the moment today. I still think there's some glaring weaknesses in Manchester United's whole team. I mean, to be frank, you have a substitute teacher as a manager. Let's be real. He had half a season as an interim manager, and had some great results in the first 8 or 9 games, and then he showed us what he was over a period of time. Right? Similar results to Mourinho, by the way. They just scored a little bit more goals, and they were slightly more exciting to watch. But similar results, albeit. But the problem I have with United is this: I'm not convinced about your attack in general. I don't think if I was a United fan, I wouldn't feel happy about relying on Rashford, Marshall, and who did you play up top with them again today? Was it Lingard?
Lingard. Yeah.
And Lingard as my week in and a week out starting lineup. I don't.
This is the same front three that Rashford scored 2 today. Martial scored 1.
Okay, time out.
Is this the same you're talking about?
A penalty, right? And 2 counterattacks. Whoop-de-doo. I don't think that when you're playing against a disciplined team, that you guys can bring the ball up and cut a team open. I think you can hit somebody on a break every now and then, but I wouldn't feel comfortable relying on that over 38 games. It's like you said, your midfield area is a little light. So over 38 game season, injuries come all the time, right? One knock there, and I'm not wishing that on you guys by any means. And what are you going to tell me then? God forbid Pogba goes down, who comes in and steps up? Right? I like the way that you addressed your defensive woes from last seasons. Oh my God, 54 goals y'all conceded, right? Some shit like that.
Something like that, 50-something goals, yeah.
Right. I think you guys have decent enough depth right there. I don't think you guys should not concede 54 goals.
We've got 2 back there, mate. We've got fucking 7 centre backs, and I want to get rid of about 3 of the fuckers.
Well, good luck.
No one want to buy Phil Jones or fucking Marcos Rojo or Chris Smalling. Oh, dude, how the fuck are they still here? I would never know.
I don't see enough depth in the attack and in the midfield to carry you guys on a 38 game season. I can see you guys getting excited for the big 6 games: the Chelsea, the Cities, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, the Spurs.
So you're saying against the likes of, I don't know,
a disciplined unit.
Trafford, you think United don't have the creativity to be able to unlock that defence?
Aston Villa, you said?
Yeah, for example, Aston Villa at Old Trafford, when they've got 11 men behind the ball, United are camped in the opposition half, you think we won't be able to break them down?
Why the fuck would you use a newly promoted team as an example, okay? You could have used Wolves, you could have used Leicester, you could have used Everton. Hell, you could have used Burnley or something like that, right? But you chose to go with the newly promoted team.
I'm not going to use Leicester and Everton and Wolves because they're not going to sit with 11 men behind the ball. They're not going to be camped in their own half. They're going to take the game to United. Leicester and Wolves and Everton are good teams. They're going to try and attack United. So that's why I didn't use them as an example, because it's unrealistic.
I don't want to hurt y'all's. I don't mean to hurt y'all's feelings, Man United fans. All right.
Say what you want. The comments we'll probably get like 1 comment or whatever. But fuck it. The people who listen to this, they're just going to crucify you, mate.
Like I said earlier, bring on the hate. I don't think y'all are good enough over a 38 game season.
So you
if they prove me wrong, I will give you all your day and I will eat pro. If they get into the top 4, that would be a hell of an achievement for y'all. Hell of an achievement.
Right, let's move on from United now.
Yeah.
I'm bored to death of fucking talk about United.
Yeah, me fucking.
Who else? So you had United in 9th, Wolves in 8th, was it?
Wolves 7th, Leicester 8th.
Right. I mean, I agree with you there. I think Leicester and Wolves will come around there, but I've got West Ham 9th, Wolves 8th, and Chelsea in 7th.
I can see that as well. I think that area is going to be tight still. Kind of like that bottom third of the table. That middle section from 9 through 6 is going to be tight points wise.
Well, Leicester have a very, very good team. You know, there's about 4 or 5 players in that team that I would take at United easy, hands down. I think Brendan Rodgers will have learned from his experience at Celtic, you know, winning trophies. Whether, you know, it's in the Scottish League, fine, fair enough. But it's still winning trophies. And it's still at a decent level. I think he would have learned from that. And I think Leicester are a very, very good team on the front foot. You know, the likes of the fact that they managed to secure the signing of Yuri Tielemans in midfield. That is a fantastic buy.
I like him.
He's a quality. You know, shout out to all of those fucking footy manager players who knew about Tielemans for the last 4 years or whatever.
Yeah, but, true that.
James Maddison, great attacking player. Wilfred Ndidi, I would kill to have him at United, honestly. He's a quality player as well. So I think West Ham 9th, Wolves 8th. And I put Chelsea 7th because not just on, you know, the basis of today's game, but I just don't think, as I said, there's no consistency anywhere in that team. The fact that you've lost David Luiz, who I think statistically was their best centre half last year, and they're relying on Kurt Zuma, who was at Stoke Everton on loan, Andreas Christensen, who's a decent enough defender, but he's not.
Yeah, he's not bad. He's
not bad. But you know, those 2 players prone to mistakes, and who else do they have in centre back now? They've got this young Rudiger injured always. He's a great defender, but he's very injury prone. And they've got, as their 4th centre back choice, they've got this young guy from the academy called Tomori. So he's never played a minute in the Premier League, but they're relying on him as another one of their centre backs. I mean, Azpilicueta could come back into the centre back role, and then they could play Zappa Costa at right back, but their defence and their attack doesn't impress me at all. Their midfield is very good. Their attack and defence, they're toothless in the defensive third and in the final third.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's why I think they'll come 7th. So who have you got in your top 6 then?
All right, as I said earlier, I've got Liverpool winning the whole fucking thing this year.
Oh, you go. All right, well, great. So we've gone from 20th to fucking 7th, and now you're jumping to 1st. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it consistent, you can. Fucking, let's go 6th.
I was just so fucking excited to get that off my chest again. I'm sorry. All right, I'll play by your rules, AK. West Ham I have at 6th, right? I have Chelsea at 5. Kind of same mentality as you about Chelsea. But then this is the top 4. It gets a little tricky. I threw Arsenal in there at 4th this year, right? Man City at 3rd. Spurs at 2nd and Liverpool at 1st. I'm sticking to it.
Oh, Romain.
I'm fucking sticking to it, bro.
I swear to God, if every week on this podcast, if I have to educate you, I'll be fucking fuming because you haven't got a clue what you're on about, mate.
Explain. Explain.
I don't even know where to start with your stupidity. Your first 3, Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, fine, fair enough.
City, you mean City?
City, sorry, yeah.
Easy 3.
Easy 3. They could come in whatever order. I don't agree in your order. I think City will come 1st, Liverpool 2nd, and Spurs 3rd. You know, fair enough. That's what you've got. But who did you have 4th and 5th? Again, 4th, 5th, and 6th? You had Arsenal in 4th, Chelsea in 5th.
Chelsea at 5th, and West Ham at 6th.
West Ham at 6. Why? I've got a spot for West Ham. I like a fair few of their players, but 6, really? Why?
You make it seem like being in 6th place is the same thing as being top 4. What's that get you? A playoff into the Europa League, right?
No, they get straight automatically into the Europa League.
So what the fuck are you wound up about? How is that so difficult to comprehend that West Ham can finish 6th place this year?
What makes you think they're going to come ahead of the likes of Leicester and Wolves and Man United?
Again, as I said earlier, that's 6th through 9th place right there. You're gonna be tied on points, right? So them finishing 6th. So let's finish 6 on 55 or something like that. I can see Wolves finishing 7th with like 52, 53, something like that. So that difference there between 6 and 7, it's very small margins we're working with here. So I'm not beating the drum and saying West Ham is going to be a top 4 team and they're going to play in the Champions League and raise hell. I think they're an experienced manager, a Premier League winning manager, I must add, right?
Carry on. You're just digging yourself your own grave, mate, honestly.
I'm a big fan. Big fan. Felipe Anderson. I think a lot of people are sleeping on that winger. He's good. He's good, man. He can take a game over. Disciplined defensively. Although it didn't show today against City, but that's Man City, so who the fuck aren't they gonna rip apart? But losing Arnautovic, who didn't want to be in that dressing room, that might help. It was almost addition by subtraction. I just, again, I think West Ham is gonna have a fruitful year this year.
You're a fucking idiot. Oh my god. Fair enough. Right, in my top 6, I've got Leicester in 6. I've already spoken about them, how their whole team is great. Really, I really enjoy watching the way Leicester play on the front foot, attacking football. Brendan Rodgers, I think, will take them up to the next level. As I said, the likes of Maddison and Didi and Tielemans in midfield. That midfield 3 is probably better than Arsenal's. It's better than United's. It's up there with Chelsea's. I think it's a fantastic midfield. I think defensively is where they'll struggle. Obviously, the loss of Harry Maguire to United will make a big impact on them. But I think they've done well. Their fullbacks are great as well. Ricardo Pereira at right back and Ben Chilwell at left back. I'm surprised that they kept a hold of them, to be honest. I would have thought some bigger teams were coming for them. I remember last season, Man City were linked to Ben Chilwell a fair bit last season. And quite frankly, they probably could use a left back because Mendy's always injured, not on form. And Zinchenko's filled in admirably, but he's not really a left back. So Leicester have done well to keep a hold of all them lot. In 5th, I've got Arsenal, and pretty much just because I don't think they've addressed their issues fully. I think David Luiz can be susceptible to mistakes. He's always got a mistake in him. And I don't think they've improved their midfield. Their central midfield / defensive midfield and their centre-backs have been their weak point for years. And David Luiz, I don't think, is going to organise that defence. And in central midfield, Dani Ceballos, again, he's not proven. He's young. He's going to be inconsistent. The likes of Guendouzi, Xhaka and Torreira, I don't think will catapult them to 4th place. Their attack is probably the 3rd best in the league behind City and Liverpool. They've got a phenomenal attack, but I just think that they still lack that defensive solidity. And again, United 4th because, well, we've spoken to death about United, so I'm not going to go into that. But I think I think they'll finish 4th. And then the top 3, I've got Spurs in 3rd, Liverpool in 2nd, and City in 1st. I just think those three teams are a league above everyone else. And yeah, that's about it, to be honest.
I see some similarities there in our table. You know, I don't think we're miles apart, believe it or not. Especially if you think of our bottom three and our top three, I mean, they're really close.
Yeah.
The middle is fair game.
You've got wild cards in your team as well. So fucking West Ham in 6th, United in 9th. I think you've got those massively wrong there, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll come back. Sorry?
What did United finish last year? Was it 6th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a shocking season.
I don't think y'all have improved. I really don't.
I think listen, I've got United and Arsenal battling it out for 4th place, but I think United will pip them to it because I just think, yes, Arsenal's attackers is better than United's. I think the midfields are relatively similar, but I think defensively United are just far superior. That even if our attackers are having an off day, I trust my defence to keep a clean sheet and for us to get a scrappy 1-0 win. Whereas I know Arsenal got a scrappy 1-0 win today, but over the course of the season, I don't think they can sustain that. I don't think their defence is good enough to keep clean sheet after clean sheet. So Arsenal's attack will have to score at least 2 goals a game to win it more often than not. So I think the defence is just going to pit 4th. Is going to get United that 4th spot.
You know what? I'll let you dream. I'll let you dream this week, AK. I'll do that. You know what? Y'all won a big game today, right? I don't want to ruin it for you. Not today.
Oh,
but next week, though, it's fair game.
Well, next week, United are playing Wolves away. I think that will probably. I looked at the fixture list before the season started, and I thought the first 5 games, I think the Wolves away will probably be the hardest of the 5, even harder than today's game against Chelsea. So United have a tough game next week. Who are Liverpool playing next week?
Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, baby.
No, you're an idiot. That's in the Super Cup. That's not in the Premier League.
No, it is.
No, I'm looking at the fixture list now, you idiot. Liverpool are playing Southampton.
Dude, what the fuck? I looked at ESPN last week and we had them on the fucking fixture list.
Yeah, because you're playing Chelsea in the Super Cup, the Europa League winners versus the Champions League winners.
Hold on.
You're playing.
You know what ESPN where you click the app, you click the what's his name, the English Premier League, and you select that tournament. You just click that. You click a team, and it shows you their fixture list for that tournament.
Right, you're playing Chelsea on Wednesday.
Holy fuck.
You're playing Chelsea on Wednesday. In the
dude, it said. I swear to God, when I looked at it, said next week Sunday. That's why me and Sheldon were talking about next week Sunday today.
Well, you two are idiots then. As I said, I'm educating you. Oh, you two just haven't got a clue about what you're on about, do you?
Clearly not. No. I was excited for Chelsea. I really was. But Super Cup, oh, fuck it. I don't care about that tournament.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
It's not really a tournament. It's just a one-off game, isn't it? No, next week you're playing Southampton away, which should be an easy win. And then the following week you're playing Arsenal at Anfield. Yeah,
definitely. That's one to look forward to. I guess we'll see how we'll get to see that defense get tested in 2 weeks, huh? Against Liverpool.
What, Liverpool's defense?
Arsenal's defense.
Oh yeah, no, Liverpool are going to rip you to rip. Dude. Honestly, I don't understand why people are rating Arsenal so much. Just because you've got a couple of deadline day doesn't mean they've had the best window.
It's not that. This is why I think people are high on Arsenal, right? They looked at last season when they were in 4th place for maybe like 3 weeks and they just weren't picking up points against these weaker teams due to fatigue and other lack of focus and other reasons like that. They gave 4th place to Chelsea.
They didn't keep a clean sheet away from home until April. Mate. It
Right.
took nearly a whole season to keep a clean sheet away from home. And
they played some weaker teams towards the end, and people expected them to get points and close the deal and finish fourth place.
And they still bottled it.
And they didn't. They didn't do it. But with these additions, I think what they're saying is if they're given the same position that they were given last year, that's what people are, a lot of these Arsenal fanboys are hoping for. That they'll be able to squeak some points.
It's a whole different season, mate. Whole different teams, whole different squads, different fixtures at different points in time.
Way to be Captain Obvious.
Oh, very fucking funny. The Arsenal aren't gonna be in the same position as they were last season, where they're playing the weaker teams at the back end of the season and they only need a handful of points. It's just unrealistic, and I don't think their defence will be able to cope on a regular basis. Honestly, I don't. Their midfield is still weak. I think adding a 21-year-old Danny Ceballos will not change your midfield. He's not even that young. He's 23. Like, come on. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Arsenal in 5th and United in 4th, I've got.
All right. We'll see.
We'll just see.
We'll see.
All right. Well, that's that for this week's podcast then.
Yeah, what do you think? You think we're going to last another week at this rate? Or do people get tired of us?
Well, I hope the people don't get tired of us. But we'll just have to wait and see. And thanks for tuning in, lads, ladettes. It's just you've listened to an hour and a half probably of absolute diatribe from two idiots who don't know what they're on about. But thanks for listening if you've made it this far. And yeah, I suppose we'll see you next week on the Manky Boot.
See you next Tuesday, guys.